Okay, so next up we have a walkthrough of the lead flow. Now we already have a lead created here, so what we'll start with is using our new Create button. And when you click that from anywhere in the site, you'll get a pop-up where you can select different objects, but we'll focus on clicking a new lead. So you'll see what looks like the same lead page, but a bit more basic version of it, because with some things not yet created, you won't have to pick all the options. So we'll start. You'll see we're on the Create New Lead page. Your settings will control what fields are required for someone to create a lead. So in this case, just as an example, we have our DBA field, company name, set with a star next to it, so we know that it's required. So if I came over here and clicked Create Lead, I would get a red tab and then also text right below it that says this field is required. So I can quickly see that requirement. So I'll put in an example merchant name, AAA Auto Repair. Now, if I click Create Lead again, that should satisfy all the requirements, but I want to make sure that all the properties of the lead, which we see in the bar across the top, are what I want them to be. So the first two that you see, the category and status, this relates to where this is in your process. So your statuses are, of course, completely customizable. You create however many categories you need and put statuses within. Now, you also have user restrictions on who can use and see different statuses, which we'll look at a little bit later. But I'll just pick the same default that we have here, qualifying brand new as the status. And you see a little circle that's next to brand new. That's because you can have colors for the different statuses to visually indicate where it is in your process. Next over, we have the group selector, which if you use groups within your business to segment access, like for different sales offices, you may have one or more groups there, which can be picked. And then finally, the campaign and the source. This is more to indicate where and how you got this lead. You can set them to none. You can also customize them directly from these little handy edit buttons, which also shows on the group selector. So if everything's set properly there, and you've got anything you need to enter it into the lead fields, you can then click Create Lead. Now the page that loads here looks very similar, but we'll see that this taskbar at the top, our highlights, now is going to have fields for the contact info, so you can quickly see that. We'll see properties over on the right side, and our main lead tabs here on the left side. If we scroll down, you'll see you can scroll down within this first tab, but if we're moused over somewhere else, if we scroll down, we'll see more information to the bottom. So this is where your notes section lives here at the bottom, that you can add in what you want to for the account. So we'll quickly go through the different sections here. At this top left, in this demo example, we've got several tabs listed, and you can collapse and expand the list of tabs based on how much you want to view. And the page will remember that. So if you have them expanded, the next time you come to the lead, it will be expanded again. So in this example, we've got attachments listed here at the top. If needed, you could move those to the bottom. You could put them in one of the right side panels, which there's 4. But most commonly, they're going to be on one of these left side options. So we'll work through a few of the fields here. Just remember that all of the fields are customizable by your staff, so the name, location, size, and function of each field is editable and easily done both within this page and from our Manage Leads fields page. I'll start by entering an address. And as you see, when I start to type in the address, you'll get a listing for matching addresses. And if you don't have a match, you can just type in the address and tab over and start to enter the rest of the information. You'll see special fields like the address has a little button next to it. That's to quickly do a Google Maps search for that address. website field has a small icon on it to go to the website that you've entered. Any kind of date field will have a calendar icon so you can quickly select a date. And we also offer the ability to have a copy button anywhere in the form. So if you have a copy button, that's probably used for something like a DBA address being equal to a legal address. So instead of having to type it twice, you would click copy, and the matching fields would have that information populated below. So that's some basic fields that you have. Now some of the tabs have special functions. We'll take a look at the Owner tab because, as you know, you could have one or more owners for a given business, and you may not want to build out fields to fill in 5 owners, but if you have one owner or several, just create a replicated section of the fields you have for an owner. In this case, I've just got one owner open here. If I click Add New Owner, then we'll have Owner 2. So however many you need for a given lead, that's how many you can open up on the page. Very similar, you can do something like that for equipment. If you have something, let's say services, other products that you offer, you want to add. This is called the record set type of tab versus just a regular tab. So you can add those and specify the fields that you have within them to be able to enter the information for however many you have of those given items. Now we saw a little bit earlier, Dimitri went into the eApps tab. That has a specific function for being able to send out documents for e-sign over email. And then down below, we have our Notes tab. This is going to be for entering a note on the account. We could say, called merchant, need to get statement. Okay. Now, when you put in a note, you have the ability to notify other people that that note was posted, typically other people assigned to the account, maybe managers, and you can then click Create Note, and it will post right below. Now, your notes will sort alphabetically, most recent at the top. You'll have different date range segments that you can collapse and expand to quickly view most recent notes or older notes. And if you have any notes that are very important, when you create them or later to edit them, you can pin them. So if it's a very important piece of information, like don't call this merchant on Mondays, or you only need to speak to this person, something very important, you can pin that note to make sure it's easily seen in that tab. Also, if using the dialer that's integrated, you have the Recordings tab. So anytime a call is made with this phone number here, you would be able to see the recording here, information about it, and then listen to it. We'll jump over to our Invoices and Payments tabs. Those allow you to, as you expect, process payments and generate invoices to be paid to the merchant that is represented in this lead. So we've got integrations for payments for credit cards for Authorize.net, NMI, and Paytrace, and currently for eCheck we have Paya. Now payments is going to work as you expect pretty simply. You put in information, you can put in an invoice number, maybe if that was generated from another system, all the basic contact info, and then actually enter card info, and then submit it at the bottom. You can also set a payment to repeat and then specify a schedule. So if you have something that a merchant has ordered from you and you need to have that paid back over a period of time, you can set it with simple scheduling. And if you view the merchant here in the lead, you have a history tab where you can see everything that's processed before on them. So this is specifically the payments that you've done here. And our Invoices tab is going to work very similarly too, except here you have line items that you can put in with costs, you can put in taxes, and you can do this all from specific templates. So if you have an object that you sell for a certain price to the merchant and it's commonly sold to your accounts, you would be able to create a template for that and just reuse that instead of having to put in each line item and the cost associated for each one. Similarly to the payments, you have a history section that you can view to see all of the invoices. And when you send an invoice, the merchant will get a link in an email, be able to open it on screen, and then choose to pay however they need to. You can control which payment types are allowed for a given invoice. So if you only want them to pay by card or only pay by ACH, and if you have those set up, you can specify which are allowed. And just like the payments also, you can do repeating invoices. So that allows you to just schedule the invoice to be sent out on a specific basis. Finally, we'll see a tickets tab here within the lead. So just like when Dimitri was looking at a merchant and he went to a tickets tab, you can go to a lead and look at its tickets tab. And if a merchant is linked to a lead, they'll share the tickets between their two tabs so you can easily access them. And it will show you quick information about the tickets that they have. The counter on the tab will show the number of open tickets for that account, not just the number of total tickets. And you can quickly click Add New Ticket to start a new ticket directly from here. Now, as we work through the page, at the bottom right here, we'll see the Events tab. So we've got the ability to add tasks and appointments on a lead. You'll put a start and end time, and then you can choose the set by and the set for. So if you have an appointment setter putting in appointments for a sales rep, they would put them as the set for, put in a description, and then add it. Now our calendar integrates to Google Calendar and Outlook, so any user could sync theirs on their own and have these events show on their phone, desktop computer, or other device that has those integrated. As we move further back up the page on the right side, you'll see some of those details that we entered while the lead was being created. You've got the group, campaign, and source, so if those need to be edited, they can. Also, the quick edit buttons for those admins that have that access will be listed on the right. And some quick information of when the lead was created, how long it's been in its current status, and when it was last saved. There's more detailed information up above. We'll look at that just in a minute. And next up, we have our actions section. That's going to show you what you're available to do on this lead. Everyone will have the option to duplicate it, which is just to make a copy of the lead. Board Merchant, which you'll see if you have the ability to use Turbo App to create new apps and accounts. And then Edit Layout and Manage Fields will only show for the admins that have the ability to edit lead fields. And Delete Lead will only show if you have that permission available in your user class. The last part to see here is the lead history, which will show tabs of all the updates to the lead, so user assignments, status, group, campaign, and also field revisions. So every specific field change that's happened in the lead, which even from just creating a lead based on defaults, you see there's already been 50. So as the entire life goes on for the lead, you'll be able to see who changed a specific field. Maybe they updated a tax ID, an address, when was it empty, when was it filled in, and you'll know how they did it. Maybe API pushed it in, or they did a lead import, or the user just accessed the lead. You'll see it all from here, and it can be exported. Now at the very top, we have the Assigned Users tab, which will list out anybody who's got direct access to the lead. If you have the ability to, you can add other users to the lead. And the last part here is the Activity tab. This is completely new in the new interface. These are going to be some quick stats for this lead. And each little item has what we call a tooltip. You can mouse over it to see the explanation of what it does. And it's going to show you basically how much communication history you have with this lead. So it's focused on the emails, calls, and SMS that go back and forth with it. Any questions on what we've seen here? The mic. There we go.
For the invoicing, it just just creating an invoice, right? It doesn't do any inventory management or anything. As far as like, if I have 10 packs A920s, I'm writing an invoice for one, would it deduct? Is it like an inventory management system behind it or no?
There is not. It's not connected to an inventory management, so it's separate from that. Any line items you put are what we would call free text, so it's not connected to the equipment that you've put on the account or any other system.
In the equipment tab you have there, can we further customize what like other fields that we'd like to have in there as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Every field is customizable by you, so if you just wanted to have, let's say, make, model, serial number, terminal ID, you could keep it that simple. If you want to have date that it was issued, date that it was returned, anything else, quick and easy to add. And we'll look at editing that in just a moment. Question? No? No? Okay, so we will move on to administering the lead page. So we've gone through the flow, the basic usage of it. Now for the admins, the configuration of this. So how do you put this together to make it work for your team? Now if we jump back just down a little bit in the page, remember we saw edit layout and manage fields buttons. So a new feature in the updated interface is edit layout. This allows you to, as the admin, go in and without leaving the page, configure the size, placement, and features of a field so you can quickly edit and see how things lay out. You can make changes. Let's say I drag this field up and down. You see everything kind of snaps into a grid. And then after I'm done, just click Save Layout. Or if I need to go to another tab and go make changes there, you can do the same kind of things. So quick and easy to do. If you've got sales reps saying a field needs to be moved around, you can quickly do it this way. Sales reps, managers will probably not have this access because it's only for your admins. So I'll click Save there, but if I want to make more specific changes to a given field, all the other kind of properties of the field and more about what it does, based on what tab I'm under, let's say I go to the Equipment tab, when I click Manage Fields, I'll get a new tab in my browser open to editing the fields for the Equipment tab. So we'll see, you see fields like, let's see, oh, this is for pricing. So I'll go to Manage Fields. Any field that's listed there, you can of course drag and rearrange here as we've always done in the older interface. You can set permissions for the field. So who even sees the field, you can mark it as hidden based on user class. You can set it as read only so they can see the field and what's in it but not make changes. And then also set it as required, meaning that to create the lead or to save it later, it must be filled in. If you have a field and it's set up the way you want and you need another one just like it, we have the duplicate option. We have move, which allows you to put it into another tab. Now, of course, here you can just drag and drop to rearrange the order, but to put it under another tab, you'll use move. And then the big changes all happen under the edit field screen. So this is where you'll set the label for the field type, which drives all the other options that show for it. So you'll see if I change the field type, I get different options here down below. And the most common fields are text, dropdown, and checkbox. So those are listed as the first three types, but then all the rest are listed alphabetically. And we have a guide on the right side that explains what the purpose is for each different field type. So let's say I want to, I'll just back out of this and go back to my list of field tabs, and I want to find my Equipment tab and click Add Remove Fields. For any of those fields we call the record set, you'll see an option at the top that says how many fields to use as the record title. So I'll show you what that means here. When we look at Equipment, right now this says Equipment 1. Now if I change values here, when I save that lead, it's going to update the name to show whatever I put here first. So if I put the model and the serial number first, this record would say like, Clover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that way when I have them all collapsed, let's say I had 6 pieces of equipment, I could quickly identify which one it is and go into that, expand it out to work on it. So that's the main setting you have when you have these record set types of tabs. So if I want to add a field, just click add. And let's say I wanted that to be terminal ID. I put TID. It's a text field. I want the field to be 15 characters wide. And if I don't want the number inside of it to be any longer than 15, I can also check that box to set the maximum value. And if I want to make another field from this, I would click to have create new field still selected. Otherwise, I'll just uncheck it and then click add. And when it's first added, it'll be at the top. Let's say I just want to drop it down a little bit. Go back to my lead page. And remember, this isn't just affecting this lead. This is affecting all leads in the system because they'll all see this lead field. And now in the equipment tab, when I expand out this record, we'll see here's my TID field. So quick addition, easy editing. It's right there. Answer the questions there?
Perfectly.
Yeah, great, thanks. Now, some other items in the lead we saw we could configure: group, campaign, source. These quick links for the admin take you right to the page. You can go into manage and get a hold of them, but it's really nice when you're here just to click the shortcut. Those are listed there. And then also for items like your attachments, if you're uploading files, you can go straight to your Manage Labels page. So a quick refresher if you haven't seen labels. Labels is just identifying the type of document that you're uploading into the Attachments tab. So this is helpful for just simple uploading, but also for your e-signature process, because labels not only identify what the file is, separate from its file name, but allow you to categorize it and set permissions of who can interact with those files based on that type. So for an example, you have statements. You want sales reps to be able to upload statements, but they should not be able to delete them once uploaded. So you could say, I need to take away the delete permission for a given label, that file, based on what it is. Statement could be void check, e-sign document, and the labels themselves can be customized by name, and you can add new labels. So any site by default will have several labels already populated in the system based on common merchant services documents. But if you have anything else you want to add, you can just do add new label, set the name, and then add permissions for it. Any questions on files or labels? Okay. Okay, now for our last piece to look at in the lead for administration are statuses. So we have here the list showing under category, that's your status categories, and you see all those statuses within it. To quickly edit those in the new interface, we've got a shortcut for you here, right under the Manage menu, Lead Statuses and Triggers. So I'll open that. And we'll see that there's more than just a basic list of statuses. You've got different things you can do with those statuses to help automate processes and workflows. Now for a status category, that's just going to be a simple grouping of statuses that you pick for a lead. For a status category, you can set which groups have access to it, and then also a color at the bottom to visually indicate in different reporting where that is in your process. And then we have 3 settings for user class access to that status. The first one is disable lead editing for this user class. So let's say we have this status here that's open, merchant is live. If we don't want a sales rep to edit a lead once it's in that status, we pick that user class here. They'll still be able to see the lead, but not make any changes to it other than attaching files, setting appointments, and adding notes. If you don't want the users to be able to use that status category at all and not even pick it from the list, you could also just select their user class as the second option. And if you don't want leads that are in that category to be visible at all to people, so the lead gets put in that category, you want it to be hidden from searches and reporting, you'd pick the third option. So the first one is no ability to edit. The second one is no ability to use. The third one is no ability to see the leads in it. So you can usually do a combination of the first two or maybe the second and third to really get specific with what you want people to be able to change on leads. Now if we go into the specific statuses here, let's say I go to add remove statuses for merchant is live. We then get to the option to configure status triggers for a status. And this is where the automation lives. So we have two different main levels of status triggers. We have the status change, so right when the status is changed on the lead, take an action, and then status age. So after a set amount of time, then if the lead is still in that status, apply the change. So we'll see what these look like. When we click add new trigger at the top, you'll see several options of what can be done when that status trigger occurs. So for this one, we have a status age selected, and I'll pick 14 days. And I'll say I want a user notification to go to sales reps, and you can specify the email template to use. And it could be something as simple as, this account has been boarded now for 14 days. You need to reach out and make sure that they're content, everything works. So an automated notification to the assigned sales rep on that lead to do a follow-up or whatever you're requesting. You could also, instead or in addition to, send a notification to a specific email address that's stored in that lead based on the field and have the email go essentially to the merchant contact. So instead of contacting your own staff, you could have it send out and work the same way. You could also do what we call our threaded follow-ups, where it uses the same email thread after a certain number of days when the first email is sent to send additional emails. And if it only will stop if the lead statuses change or if the email gets a response. Other options below, remember this is a status age, so after it's been in that status for a certain amount of time, you could have it automatically change to a different status. This can be useful if you've got a lead that sits in a certain status while it's getting worked and it isn't getting attention. You can have it move to another status and potentially along with that, assign to a new user or unassign existing users. Now an option that's not typically used, it's very specific, is to disable the assigned user based on the lead status. And then the last option we have here, create help desk ticket. This is a very new feature that allows you to specify when the lead goes to that status, then either automatically or prompt for a ticket to be created. So with the status age, it's going to be doing it automatically because the time that it occurs could be anytime, nights, weekends. It'll ask you for the ticket type to default to, which will determine the basic settings for the ticket, such as the assigned users. It would notify the people who you assign to it. So like for DDA change, let's say that ticket type has its own settings managed elsewhere. You could say this needs to assign to these 3 people, or it needs to rotate between these 3 people, and then when the ticket's created, it would notify them. And you can specify default subject, and you can use these little placeholders by putting the @ symbol to have it automatically fill in names or other information from the lead into the ticket subject. So let's say it's company name, we'll call it bank change based on I picked DDA change there. Description is not a required field. You'll see there's no little red star next to that. So if I left that on, then after being in that status 14 days, as I set here, it would automatically create that ticket. Now, if I jump over to trigger on status change, this is more likely going to be someone on a lead and they change the status. And right then, you could also choose the create help desk ticket option. The difference is you can choose it to auto-create the ticket, or you can just prompt the user and basically asking them if they want to make the ticket. Yeah. Yeah, if you do the prompt to create a ticket, then they'll have to click the button to create the ticket, and they could put on the comments right then. If it auto-creates the ticket, which the user may or may not be aware of, because it's all automated, they could still potentially find the ticket in the help desk system if they have access to it. Now, an upcoming feature that we have here, send to external CRM. This allows you to, if you have a partner, maybe another ISO you work with, you want to share a lead, like board up to them, or they board up to you, you can share the lead with them at a specific status. So you choose this external CRM option, and then you've already set up a profile, which basically is what information you want to send over to them. So you want to send all the DBA and legal info, whatever documents are attached, notes, and you can share it over with them. So any questions on the status triggers? No, very good. Okay, so let's see our agenda. So next up is user access configuration. We'll probably take a few minutes break here and begin that at 4 o'clock.